would do is they'd stop them from writing the bills. They wouldn't be sitting like Cheney was with lobbyists writing an energy policy. They get to have their voice. Look, there is a thing called free speech. They get to petition their government. But in terms of their ability to be able to set the agenda, write legislation, be these, and it's just a totally different atmosphere. A totally different atmosphere. Just like it was 25 years ago when it didn't become such a growth industry.
You're a lifetime communicant in the Catholic Church. You've talked often about your faith and the strength of your feelings about your faith.
Actually, I haven't talked often about my faith. I seldom talk about my faith. Other people talk about it.
I'll give you an opportunity to talk about it now.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, I interviewed Senator Nancy Pelosi. She's the Speaker of the House, obviously, when she was in Denver. When Barack Obama appeared before Rick Warren, he was asked a simple question, when does life begin? And he said at that time that it was above his pay grade. That was the essence of his question. When I asked the Speaker what advice she would give him about when life begins, she said the church has struggled with this issue for a long time, especially in the last 50 years or so. Her archbishop and others across the country had a very strong refutation to her views on all of this. I guess the strongest probably came from Edward Cardinal Egan, who's the Archbishop of New York. He said, anyone who dares to defend that they may be legitimately killed because another human being chooses to do so, or for any other equally ridiculous reason, should not be providing leadership in a civilized democracy worthy of the name. Those are very strong words. If Senator Obama comes to you and says, when does life begin? Help me out here, Joe, as a Roman Catholic. What would you say to him?
I say, look, I know when it begins for me. It's a personally and private issue. For me as a Roman Catholic, I'm prepared to accept the teachings in my church. But let me tell you, there are an awful lot of people of great confessional faith, Protestants, Jews, Muslims, and others, who have a different view. They believe in God as strongly as I do. They're intensely as religious as I am religious. They believe in their faith and they believe in human life. And they have differing views as to when I'm prepared as a matter of faith to accept that life begins at the moment of conception. But that is my judgment. For me to impose that judgment on everyone else who is equally and maybe even more devout than I am, it seems to me, is inappropriate in a pluralistic society. And I know you get the pushback. Well, what about fascism? Everybody, you're going to say fascism is all right? Fascism isn't a matter of faith. No decent religious person thinks fascism is a good idea.
But if you believe that life begins at conception, and you've also voted for abortion rights.
Now, what I voted against curtailing the right, criminalizing abortion. I voted against telling everyone else in the country that they have to accept my religiously based view, that it's a moment of conception. There is a debate in our church, as Cardinal Egan would acknowledge. It's existed. Back in Summa Theologica, when Thomas Aquinas wrote Summa Theologica, he said it didn't occur till quickening, 40 days after conception. How am I going out and tell you, if you or anyone else, that you must insist upon my view that is based on a matter of faith? And that's the reason I haven't. But then again, I also don't support a lot of other things. I don't support public funding. I don't, because that flips the burden. That's then telling me I have to accept a different view. This is a matter between a person's God, whether they believe in God, their doctor, and themselves, in what is always a trick. And what we're going to be spending our time doing is making sure that we reduce considerably the amount of abortions that take place by providing the care, the assistance, and the encouragement for people to be able to carry to term and to raise their children.
Finally, let me ask you about your old colleague, Joe Lieberman, who had a primetime speaking appearance last week at the Republican convention.
He did, didn't he?
Let's just share with you what Senator Lieberman had to say about the top of your ticket, Senator Obama.
Senator Barack Obama is a gifted and eloquent young man who I think can do great things for our country in the years ahead. But, my friends, eloquence is no substitute for a record. Not in these tough times for America.
Was he talking about Palin, or was he talking about...
2 paragraphs later, he went on to say that Sarah Palin is qualified to be just a heartbeat away from the presidency. Harry Reid, the majority leader of the Senate, your leader, was very disappointed. His aide said Wednesday. Reid spokesman Jim Manley said that Lieberman appeared to go out of his way to distort Senator Obama's record of bipartisan achievements in the Senate. Should Joe Lieberman be welcomed back in the Democratic caucus?
Hey, look, we Catholics believe in redemption. You
also believe in trying to have a filibuster-proof Senate.
Well, that's true. And Joe's been my friend for years. Our children are friends. His daughter-in-law was in my son's wedding. We go back a long way. Every time I see Joe these days, I walk up and I say it ain't so, Joe. Say it ain't so. Joe's made a judgment. Joe's going to have to make a tougher judgment when this election is over.
But at the same time that you and Senator Obama, John McCain and Sarah Palin are saying this is a change election. We're going to change the way business is done in Washington. And then the American people watch Joe Lieberman in what many of them would see as an act of betrayal against his own parties. People say, well, he's my old buddy. He's welcome back.
Well, look, I don't want to personalize this election. Like I said, I heard Sarah Palin and John McCain talk about change. Tell me one single thing they're going to do on the economy, foreign policy, taxes that is going to be changed. Name me one. This is such malarkey. 90% of the time, John votes with the president. A same tax cut, he jumps on his tax cut proposal, which are disastrous. He jumps on his foreign policy, which has been a complete and utter failure. He jumps on the whole idea that he has about how to deal with health care, which is to tax. John wants to tax health care benefits for people who get their health care from their employers. Tell me where the change is. My goodness. He may change on how he deals with a lobbyist, but the idea on the economy, health care, education, same outfit, same deal, no change.
Senator Joe Biden of Wilmington, Delaware, vice presidential candidate of the Democratic Party. Thanks very much for being with us.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks for having me.
Our viewers should know that we have extended an invitation for Senator Biden's Republican counterpart, Governor Sarah Palin, to appear any Sunday prior to the election. We've made the same invitation to Senator John McCain, who's at the top of the Republican ticket. Coming up next, our live show from Wilmington, Delaware, continues with Pulitzer Prize-winning New York Times columnist, best-selling author Tom Friedman, talking about his new, provocative, and highly instructive book, How the Issue of Energy and Climate Change Will Shape the Race for the White House. In a moment.